I remember when we were kids, we used to always fight over the remote control for the television. Now, Zach and I, we used to share a bedroom at the very back of the house. And when Mum would wake us up, Zach would get up on his feet, run down the hallway, get to the lounge room, pick up the control, and thus having the power. Now, I cannot tell you how much this used to annoy me. So what I would do is I'd wait for Zach to go to the bathroom, I'd crawl over to the couch, I'd pick up the control, and then finally, the power would be mine. But after a while, Zach realised what I was doing. So whenever he got up to go to the bathroom, he'd pick up the control, he'd go in the kitchen, he'd put it on top of the fridge where I couldn't reach it, he'd look at me and smile, he'd come back, go to the bathroom, come back, pick up the control, and act like nothing had ever happened. Now, I tell this story to people, and I ask them, do you think that's a good or a bad thing that my brother used to do this to me? And everyone always says to me, oh, you know what, it was a bad thing, he was probably taking advantage of your disability. And you know what, at the time, I would have agreed with you. It was a bit of a jerk move by his part. But in retrospect, I reckon it was the best thing that my brother ever did to me. It would have been very easy for Zach to simply go, you know what, I feel sorry for my poor, sick, disabled brother who will never be able to walk again. I'm going to give him whatever he wants. But Zach thought, you know what, stuff that. I don't care that Dylan's in a wheelchair. I'm going to treat him like any other little brother. And it made me realise that if my brother doesn't care that I was in a wheelchair, then why the bloody hell should I care that I'm in a wheelchair? And if my brother didn't treat me any differently, it meant that I didn't expect to be treated any differently by anybody else. And it was this mentality that my family taught me at a young age to really focus on the things that I could do and not to be scared of my disability, but rather embrace it. And because of that, I've lived a truly incredible life. In 2008, I was lucky enough to win a gold medal at the 2008 Paralympic Games in Beijing playing wheelchair basketball. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, the Paralympics is the pinnacle of elite sport for people with a disability. But a lot of people don't actually know the true meaning of the word Paralympic. The word is actually split in two. There's the Olympic part, which obviously means the Olympics, the pinnacle of elite sport, and the para part. Now, there's a common misconception that the para part actually means paraplegic or paralysed, but this isn't the case. It actually represents the word parallel, meaning the Paralympics runs parallel or alongside the Olympics. Every 4 years, in the same venue, with the same elite sports, with the same elite sports stars, competing for the same gold medals. The only difference is that at the Paralympics, everybody has a disability and is heaps better looking as well. Now, Beijing was an incredible experience for me. To be 17 years old and to sit on top of that podium with 12 of your best mates, some guys that had lost limbs to cancer, other guys that had lost limbs in work-safe accidents, other guys who had had car crashes and lost loved ones and could never walk again, to sit on top of that podium, singing the national anthem with tears in our eyes, it was the most awesome thing I've ever experienced. And I cannot tell you how amazing that feeling was and how proud we were of each other and what we have achieved. I'm also a massive music fan, and I've been very lucky to travel around the world to a bunch of different music festivals, getting a bit of a name for myself as the dude that crowd surfs in his wheelchair at festivals. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, the first time that I did this was completely out of necessity, as I was sick and tired at looking at all your asses all day in the mosh pit. It got old very quickly. But from the first moment that I did it, I was absolutely hooked. It's an absolutely incredible feeling being on top of that crowd in what I like to call the best seat in the house. And I think these photos are a really cool metaphor for what people with disabilities can really do. You know, breaking the mould and doing what's unexpected of them. I also have a beautiful girlfriend, Kate, who I love dearly. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dylan, mate, you are batting way above your average. And you know what? I definitely am. But to be honest with you, dating a guy in a wheelchair has its perks as well. Kate now gets a seat everywhere she goes. It doesn't matter if she wears high heels or flats, she's always going to be taller. And whenever we go shopping together, Kate never has to look for a car park again, as there's 25 disabled spots just waiting for us at the front door. I must say though, it is always funny when Kate and I walk down the street in Richmond, where we're from, holding hands, and the amount of people that actually stop and stare at us is incredible. I mean, people look at us walk past and actually double take, probably thinking, man, where did that guy in the wheelchair get such a sexy nurse from? And why the hell are they holding hands? She doesn't want to catch disabled off him. Now, when I reflect on my life, it always makes me wonder why so many people always come up to me telling me that they feel sorry for me. I wish I got $1 every time I was at a bar or a pub and someone came up to me and said, mate, it's so good to see you out here tonight. Like, it must be so hard for you to be here. Like, I have leprosy and I've never been out of bed before. Now, these people are just being nice. They're not being rude at all, and it's not their fault that they think that I live this crappy, bad, unlucky life. But the reason that they do is because they've probably never seen or interacted with somebody with a disability before. And the only thing they know about disability is this stereotype that having a disability is this really bad, hard, unlucky thing. And that people with disabilities are less capable because of their impairments. And to be honest with you, it's just not true. There are tens of millions of people around the world with disabilities that are absolutely loving life and succeeding in ways that you could never imagine. And as my job as a Paralympian, I've been able to see so many of these people firsthand. I remember one guy at the Beijing Paralympics really stood out for me. I walked into the food hall at the village, and this guy, right, he was carrying his tray of food with his mouth. I was looking at him thinking like, what's this guy doing? Like, why doesn't he use his arms? Like, who's he trying to impress? Anyway, I had a closer look, and this guy had no arms from the shoulders down, so nothing. And I was like, how's this guy going to eat his food? Just like face planting his food? Like, I honestly had no idea. So anyway, I followed him to where he was going to sit so I could watch him eat. Then I sat down, the guy put down his plate of food with his mouth, and he started taking off his shoes, and he picked up a pair of chopsticks with his toes. You know the kind of chopsticks you get at your local Chinese restaurant? Anyway, he picks them up with his toes, he unwraps the paper with his toes, he cracks the chopsticks open between his toes, he puts the chopsticks between his toes on his right foot and starts feeding himself his rice with his feet. Now, I want everyone in the room, no excuses except me, because I'm a paraplegic, to put your hands above your head as high as you can. Hands up, everyone. And put your right foot to your mouth without bringing your hands down. Pretty hard, yeah? Now, I looked at this guy and I thought to myself, that is without a doubt one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. I mean, I can't even use chopsticks with my hands, and this guy's now rocking them with his feet. And I sat there and I thought to myself, I wish more people saw this side of disability. The side where people don't care about their disability. The side where there's no negative stigma associated that having a disability is this bad, crap thing. And people just get on with their lives, becoming the best versions of themselves. But unfortunately, disability remains the largest, yet the most underrepresented minority group in the world. So you never get a chance to see any of them. I remember when I got back from the Beijing Games, I went from being surrounded by all these incredible people with disabilities 24 hours a day for nearly a whole month to getting back to Australia and barely seeing anybody with a disability anywhere. Yet, in Australia alone, there are over 4 million people with some kind of physical or intellectual disability. That's nearly 1 in 5 people. Do 1 in 5 people you know have a disability? Or how many people with a disability do you see on your television screens? Or do you hear on your radios? Or do you see in your parliaments? Or do you see walking down the street on a daily basis? Now, I appreciate that not all disabilities are physical and as easy to spot as mine. I get that. But a hell of a lot of them are. And unfortunately, they remain hidden away right across the world, really struggling for confidence and a lack of social inclusion. And to me, that sucks. I think it's important that we as a society continue to change our perception of disability away from this idea that it's this really bad, unlucky, weird thing, and stop being so scared to talk about it. We need to realise that it's okay to be in a wheelchair, or okay to be blind, or okay to have any disability for that matter. And we've got to further our expectations of what people with disabilities can really do. Because realistically, parents are going to keep having disabled kids. And people are going to keep having car accidents that leave them permanently affected. It's just a part of life. And I know initially it may be a hard pill for people to swallow, but they've got to realise there's not as much to fear as you think. And your life isn't over just because you have a disability. And there's still every opportunity that you can live a successful, happy, and completely awesome life. And I owe a lot of my successes to the fact that I'm in a wheelchair. And if I ever had the opportunity to change my life and walk again and eat a magic pill, there's no way in hell that I would ever do it. And I want more people, especially with kids with disabilities, to be given the same opportunities that I had to succeed, and to tell them that it's okay to be different. And in order to do that, we need a mainstream disability. Get people with disabilities into our mainstream media and increase the visibility, which will help work in a positive light. We need to start the conversation about disability and make it more commonplace, which will go a long way in normalising it and make the lives of people with disabilities a lot easier in the process. And then, who knows, maybe one day I'll be driving down the freeway in my car and I'll look up and I'll see a guy in a wheelchair on a new billboard. But this guy, he won't be sad, he won't be depressed, and he definitely won't be devastated. He might be a movie star, or he might be a sporting hero. Who knows? He might be the Prime Minister of Australia. And this guy, he'll be happy, and he'll be smiling, and he'll be achieving. But let's just hope he's not wearing any Crocs. Thank you, guys.